Hey camping friends, Mark again here with another lesson learned. I want to talk to you today about the bed in our 2019 Geo Pro 19 FPS camper. And one thing that we discovered when you're looking at campers and you've never owned a camper, there are certain things you don't really, I think through. It's kind of like, you don't have the experience of actually going camping inside the camper. It's easy to overlook or not consider certain things. So one of the things we discovered after camping several times was that the bed, although comfortable, is turned where you're laying not lengthwise with the camper, but crosswise. And so laying in the bed at night, if there are two people in that bed, like, man and his wife, then if one person has to get up and they're on the upper side, closer to the end of the camper, they're going to have to crawl over the other person because the way that you're laying in the bed. And so that was somewhat of a challenge. It's not that it's impossible, but maybe not the greatest thing if you had to get up in the night. Like, we have a dog, and if the dog had to get up and go out to use the restroom outside the camper, and that person was on the other side and they notice it, they're going to be crawling over the other person, waking them up. And then the other thing was that, I'm not really that tall. I'm probably average height, 5'11"-ish. And so what I noticed right away was that in the bed, laying in the bed, because it is crossways in the camper, the way you lay, my head was touching the blind on one side and my feet were touching the blind on the other side on the other window. So if you move around at night, you move your feet or you turn on your pillow, then you're bumping into those blinds. And so we did some, Googling and watching YouTubes. We heard some other people talk about they did a modification so they could sleep the other direction in their bed, turn lengthwise with the camper. And so we got some ideas from their videos and appreciate their effort on that. I just wanted to show you what we did. We may have done it slightly differently, and a couple things we did to make it work out well. And it could be something you would want to do. It might not be something you would want to do, but after sleeping in the bed, if you have someone tall in your family, you may discover that it's a little bit challenging too to lay, straight across that bed, not be hitting your head or your feet. You might have to lay diagonal in the bed. So let's take a look at what we did. So here's a view of the bed. It has a few pillows laying on it. It doesn't have the sheets, as we took those out in between camping trips, right, to clean them. But you can see the layout of the bed, and you can see the end of the camper straight in front of me, and a window on each side. So you're laying with your head towards one window and your feet towards the other. Is typically the only way two people are going to fit in this bed. And so I'm going to attempt to show you what that's like. Get a couple camera angles for you so you can see the closeness of someone near my height, around 5'11". So here you can see that I'm laying on the bed the way you would normally sleep in it, and there's not much space above my head, a little bit bigger than like if I spread my hand out. And my feet on the other end, I'll try to show you that as well. It's the same. My feet are kind of right up against the edge. And if the blind is down, then the blind is going to be really close to your head and your feet. And so here's the other angle. You can notice that laying on the bed, my feet are pretty much right at the window. And if the blind is down, my feet are going to be knocking into that blind during the night. So you can see what the dilemma is. Now I'm showing you the solution. So what we did is we mounted a partial sheet of plywood with some modifications to the sheet of plywood. We cut a couple of holes to be able to grab it, to pull it out. We rounded the corners. And we mounted some hardware under the mattress onto that platform under the mattress so that that panel could slide in and out. And you also notice, in addition to the hole that we cut for your hand to be able to pull this in and out, we attached this L bracket. And the reason for this L bracket will become clear once I put the cushion extension or mattress extension that we created on there. So give me just a moment to do that and I'll show you what that looks like. So my wife went to the store and bought some supplies so that she could create this mattress extension. And it's basically foam, and it's wrapped in a fabric sewn on there. And so you can see why we add the L brackets, because if you're getting on and off the bed, or you're on the bed and you tend to move your feet at night, this would tend to slide off the end. So I added those 2 L brackets onto the sheet of plywood, and that way this is not going to pull off easily. This is, held on there by the 2 L brackets. And we discovered we didn't have them on there in the beginning, that we were tending to push, I tend to move my feet. So I was pushing it off the end of that piece of wood. Not all the way off, but creating a gap. And this keeps it all together during the night. And now when you lay on the bed, there's quite a bit of room, and I'll show you that. And so now what you notice is I don't have my head against the end wall, and my feet still easily fit onto the mattress extension. And in addition to that, if one of us need to get up during the night, then you don't have to crawl over the other person. You just work your way out to the end of the bed. There are a couple other things I did to make this a little bit more stable. And so notice these 2 legs. What I did is I purchased some wood stock. You can get these, like, if you want to put something on a lathe. You could also go to your local hardware store somewhere and buy a basic simple furniture leg if you wanted to. So what I did is I put a insert in the end that this screw will go into, and then in the other end of the leg towards the floor, I put another insert that an adjustable foot would go into. And that way, depending on whether, like, if you look over here, there's a rug, and it kind of might be under the leg or maybe not. And if you look over here, there is a rug. And so you might have to adjust your leg. And so that way I can easily put a leg under there, and it gives us a lot more support. And I'm going to try to capture that as well. So it's really pretty simple to put the leg on. So you just take this screw out. I usually leave them in the leg so that I don't lose them. Just slide that under there. And line up your hole. I drilled a hole that was right size for the bolt to go through, and also did a slight recess on the top so that the screw wouldn't stick up very much. And I have an Allen wrench inside the camper, and I just I don't tighten it down a lot. I just snug it so it's not super loose, and put the leg on both sides. And when you put the leg on both sides, this is very solid. It's not going to, when you get up off of it and on it, it's not going to give any, because it has a real nice leg support under it. I also wanted to show you, what's it like to slide this in and out. It's not very difficult. You push it like that. Those L brackets kind of stop when you get to the mattress. Or if you're going to pull it out, just raise it slightly. Pull it out to the distance, that's right for your mattress extension. And put on your legs and pop the mattress extension in, you're good to go. Another question I thought you might have is, well, how's that mounted, or is it just slid under there? What I did is I took a board that's kind of thin. It's like a 3/4 inch board by maybe it's like 1 1/4, 1.5 wide. And I found in the hardware store a rail. If you look like in the drawer slides and drawer rails and hardware like that in most hardware stores, one of the big box stores, you can find a rail that the channel inside the rail is probably close to the thickness of your plywood. And what I did is I screwed that white rail that you see in between the plywood and that piece of wood on the side that's screwed down to the platform. I just ran screws horizontally into that piece of wood, and that keeps the rail in place. So now, if you look back, the plywood only goes towards the back, and now it slides in and out fairly easily. You could also add maybe some wax or something inside that piece of metal if you want to improve how it slides, you want to make it slide even easier. And it's as simple as that. The one thing I would say is that platform under the bed is not very thick. You know, that platform under there is thin plywood, like most of the, the plywood on a camper. And so I think though the way that I attach it's gonna be good, okay for now. But one thought I had maybe is going back later and putting another piece of wood on the other side and running the screws into that other piece of wood, kind of like pulling it up against the underside of the plywood to give it a little more strength, because it's probably, I don't know, 3/8 plywood, or it might be 1/2 inch, but it feels very flimsy. So we'll see long term how well that works out. So after installing that mattress extension on the bed, we've been camping a couple times, and we found it greatly improved our sleeping experience. A lot of times what we ended up doing, just because of having to get up maybe with the dog in the night, one of us slept on the jackknife bed and one of us slept on the actual bed. But the thing is the bed is way more comfortable than the jackknife bed. The jackknife bed doesn't really lay flat. I've heard some people talk about an alteration you can do to make the jackknife bed actually lay fully flat. But when you pull the jackknife bed out and lay it down to where you're supposed to sleep, the back part towards the side of the camper is kind of on a slight raise or angle. And so you're kind of laying on that jackknife bed trying to get comfortable to go to sleep, and you feel this, it's kind of awkward where you feel like you're turned up a little bit, or you have this incline under part of your body. So I don't know, it might not be something you want to do in your camper, but we found that due to the size of the camper and the way the bed was oriented, that small modification greatly improved the bed at night. And yeah, we have to, during the day we usually remove the mattress extension and take those legs off the platform and slide it back in. It's a little bit of effort, takes like a couple minutes to do that, but for what we get out of it, being comfortable at night, we found it to be well worth our while. So hope to talk to you soon. Another lesson learned from Mark.